Hello, and you are listening to the Book Was Better podcast, the podcast where we talk about the book of the film. I'm Luke.
I'm Hector.
And this week we're talking about Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Hey you, put down the popcorn and turn on the light. It's gonna be alright, my friend. In the end, take my hand. Trust me, the book was better.
Holy crap, as the entire world is about to be gripped by Batman 5 Superman fever.
We have Versus Fever.
Here we are doing one of Superman's biggest adventures, the time when he went out and tried to get some peace. Isn't that amazing?
You could say he was on a quest for peace.
He was on a quest for peace, and here's me. I knew nothing about Roman numerals. I thought this was about him hooked up to an IV and wishing for peace as he slowly died in a hospital bed. Like Jimmy Olsen's crying, he's banging on his chest like Mark in the
how
Room.
Superman Returns finishes anyway, that they're all gathered by his bedside.
Yeah,
and they can't put the IV in.
And he's like, oh, I don't even know you guys properly. I'm not even from around here. Just let me have some peace while I pass away.
This is the Superman movie where they worked out how to actually inject that IV into his arm.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Well, that's why it's a movie-length thing, because it takes a while to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, you're sitting there while they're drilling the hole the entire time.
Yes, an army of brave men led by Bruce Willis, drillers by nature. They drill a hole in Superman's arm to put in an IV, get some fluids into him.
And in the background, Aerosmith sings some lovely lullaby.
Absolutely. So here we go. This is the one. Superman 4, this is when it all happens.
Yeah, happens or doesn't happen. Goes to shit.
Very, very hard to believe that here is a film that is only 2 years before Burton's Batman.
Yeah, it does. It definitely seems older. I remember when this came out, because I never actually saw Superman 4 at the movies, and this was at the time when I was basically seeing everything. This was the heyday of children's movie theatre going experiences, wasn't it? Never Ending Story. I can't even remember what else came out.
I think it was just Never Ending Story.
Yeah,
that's pretty much the 80s.
Well, we were watching it the entire time because it never ended, I guess.
That's right. Yeah, it started at New Year's Eve when the clock struck 12 on 1980, and it went all the way through.
I tell this story often, but I'm permanently scarred, as I suppose a lot of kids are, from Never Ending Story back when I was a child. We used to have, when term ended, we would have a free period in the library because they couldn't work out what to do with us, so they just chuck us in the library, they put a video on. It would always be Never Ending Story. And because the periods were only like about half an hour, the fucking class would always end as Artax was drowning in the goddamn bog. And so all these kids would stream out into the playground with tears in their eyes. And we never had any fucking resolution. Because next term, we would see the same half hour and the same ending.
Well, it is an urban legend that a horse died during the filming of that scene. It was actually 3 horses. So I don't know if that helps or not.
Probably not.
No, I never saw this at the cinema either, nor did I rush to see it on video or anything like that. I think maybe I might have caught pieces of it on
I
TV.
Definitely saw the blonde guy with the mullet.
Yeah.
The fight on the moon.
But I think I didn't watch it properly until I got the box set, the Blu-ray box set of everything, and then I watched it for the first time, and it was crazy because that of course has all the deleted scenes and everything as well, which is important to note because this book very much incorporates a lot of the stuff that was cut from the film.
Yeah,
and I don't know how to feel about, the cuts were very necessary because it's the shortest Superman film at 90 minutes, but there's half an hour extra. That must have taken them weeks to shoot all that additional material.
Yeah, weeks or months.
So how were they allowed to do all that when...
They also only had a meager budget.
Yeah.
Which we'll probably discuss later on. But, I mean...
That's pretty evident.
They spent all this money on filming these extra scenes when you could have put those into a few of the scenes that they chose to keep. But it's crazy as well, what they chose to cut from the movie. There was a lot of explanatory material that was cut. So some weird shit happens and you have no idea how or why it's happening.
There was a lot of stupid stuff that they cut. And this book is written by B.B. Hiller, who's been on the show before, author of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Karate Kid 2, Ghostbusters 2, and Rent a Third Grader. Now, if you could rent a third grader...
Which one would I rent?
Yeah, what would you do? I think that'd be the perfect size to scurry up and down a chimney.
Yeah, I don't know, child labour laws being what they are, maybe we can't do that anymore.
Well, we're assuming my hypothetical situation exists in a world where we're allowed to rent a third grader in the first place.
Well, a world where even us discussing this won't raise red flags.
Okay, that's where we really are. But yeah, all right. Look, if look, guilty conscience, sure. And I believe, as we've discovered before, BB stands for Bonnie Bryant. So here is a woman who is incredibly ashamed of her gender and wants to be taken seriously in the heady world of novelizations.
Fair enough.
So, shall we get into this thing and sort of learn about it as we progress? Because I think there's a lot of discussion points along the way. It's a pretty batshit movie.
It is indeed. Let us go.
Well, where the book differs already, and I should say, you're seeing this book now for the first time, it's 90 pages. So, it pretty much, you could mistake it for a birthday card, just looking at it on the table.
Superman pamphlet.
Yeah, and it's got a lot of full-page pictures in here as well, so it's quite a quick read. And therefore, it really gets through to the
Explains why you read it this morning.
The meat of stuff, yeah. So, makes a few cuts. Like, it cuts the totally bitching start of the movie where the Russian astronauts who are singing My Way and being pretty rad in space have a gravity-style accident, which Superman saves them from. That's a good opening for something.
I totally picked up on the gravity parallels too. For a moment, I thought I was about to start watching a better movie. I was waiting for that rad guitar shred to happen when the space junk hits the Russian cosmonaut.
Yes.
The Russian George Clooney. But yeah, it's a bit weird that in that scene, Superman talks in space and everyone totally hears him. Which I think is an important detail to note because it shows early how much effort this film goes to in regards to being scientifically accurate.
Have you ever read 50s and 60s Superman? Because that is a minor infringement compared to what that motherfucker does in those things. He's got super ventriloquism.
But this is the modern age.
There's a time when he tries to convince everyone that Jimmy Olsen has superpowers. So Jimmy Olsen balances on a glass rod that Superman, waves out the window using him like a puppet on a stick. And because it's a glass rod, no one can see it, because glass you can see through.
Is this around the time Jimmy Olsen became Turtle Boy as well?
Probably. So I actually think Superman talking in space is fine. I mean, he's an alien.
Well, this is a stepping stone to more batshit.
That's true, yes.
Science fiction.
You're just easing us into this ride we're about to go on.
It's also important to note that the cosmonauts are wearing spacesuits, which probably marks them as primitive peoples, because as you'll see a bit later, the Americans don't seem to need spacesuits.
I think that's because she was rich. I think it's a different rule for rich people. So, the book, instead of beginning with some cool space stuff, begins like this.
Clark Kent could see the cloud of dust moving down the road. It meant somebody was driving up to the Kent farm in Smallville. Clark had only a few minutes until the car arrived, and in those few minutes he had to do something very important.
Quick wank, bury the bodies.
Burn the evidence and desecrate the corpses. Yeah, apparently his parents have died between the films. So.
Yeah, I noticed you did scare quotes around died.
Yes. Well, we're now no longer in the Donnerverse. It's pretty obvious because Mark Kent in Superman Returns was still having her Scrabble dates.
Yes.
So we have left... The 3 and 4 are definitely outside the realm of the Donnerverse.
And then it continues thusly. Quickly, he ran into the barn. He had to hide the capsule which had brought him from Krypton to Earth when he was a baby. His life as Clark Kent was only a disguise. In reality, he was Superman. It was important to keep that a secret, otherwise he would not be able to live and work with the people of his adopted planet Earth. I thought this was relatable because I also insisted that my mother keep my old baby capsule so that I can occasionally bring it out and reminisce. I climb into it.
Yeah, we're recording in it right now and it's very cozy and moist.
Especially with the two of us in here. I mean, it's a pretty big baby though. You still am, some people would say. Ow! Oh, and it turns out the capsule contains a glowing green energy module.
Yeah, which, surprise, is not actually kryptonite.
And a message from his father, Jor-El, Marlon Brando. Do you have an impression up your sleeve?
Not really, but...
You got a deep voice. Deeper than mine.
The power in the module can be used but once. Use it wisely, my son.
Oh, not really, he says, humbly, and then just cracks that out right off the cuff.
I don't know who that was. That was a random old man.
Oh, I thought that was perfect.
Yeah, so this power in the module is never actually explained. You'd think that given that's in the ship/baby bouncer, whatever, maybe it was like some sort of rocket fuel or something, but no, it's far more Deus Ex Machina than that. There'll be more on that later, but you know, why would Superman need to know what it was, why it's important, how to use it? They're
That's
just
true.
details, man.
Well, he was just a baby at the time as well.
Well, no, now he's not a baby.
But he was when he first, they put it in there.
But there's a voiceover, and there's a voiceover in the film and the movie telling him about this module and what kind of... that it's important, and if he takes it out of the ship will disappear, etc., etc. But they never say what it is, what it does,
and he
how he
treats
can use it.
So importantly that he just shoves it into his pocket where it gets punctured by his keys and obliterates his nuts.
I don't know, he's so respectful of this thing's power that he just chucks it in his pocket. It's the last remnant that he has of the ship that brought him from Krypton. He's told that it can be used only once, and he's just wasted it on a nut acupuncture. And, didn't he already use this crystal to build the Fortress of Solitude in Superman 1?
That was a clear crystal, wasn't it? And this is a green crystal.
So
They're very different things.
Yeah, sorry.
And also, we talk about Marlon Brando. Does not appear in the film. In the film, the voiceover is Jor-El's mum instead.
Lara, is that her name?
I don't know. I'm not his biographer.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, obviously. Well, B.B. Hillier, maybe she's his biographer. But, they obviously couldn't afford Marlon, which is true because there was lots of issues with money in this production, and they basically couldn't even afford him in Superman 2, which is why they used all the flashback scenes. But, the rights were sold of Superman on film to Canon Films after Supergirl flopped.
Canon, a great company of quality.
Mm-hmm. The Canon guarantee. And the promised budget of 34 million was halved to 17 because Canon were running some sort of unsophisticated Ponzi scheme and had about 30 films on the go, which they were siphoning cash off to one after the other. One of them being the similarly underfunded Masters of the Universe,
which is set in a shopping centre on Earth.
And all that cost cutting is right there on the screen. Which,
Eternia is a variety store.
You see the budget wedding video effects in the opening credits of this movie.
Yes.
With that, comet trail after it. Oh, that was horrible. And then there's the very obvious London sets doubling for Metropolis. We got London Underground, which is supposed to be New York Underground, and Milton Keynes Bus Station, which is the United Nations building. And then there's a bunch of props like I Heart New York merchandise, which interestingly doesn't say I Heart Metropolis. And red fire hydrants are used to, throw us all off the scent. Although in the later fight scene towards the end of the movie, you see one explode and it's quite clearly foam is spewing out everywhere. There's the terrible blue screen footage, including the same shot, precisely the same shot of Superman flying towards the camera over and over. Basically, every time he flies, you see it, so,
Yeah, it gets to that point where you don't think he's showing Lois the world. You think that he set up a projector on a green screen and he's showing her his, collection of vintage stock footage. He's like, you'll love this one of the buffaloes.
Showing her his video editing skills.
Yeah,
he has that blue screen image and he's just putting different images behind him. Look, here's me flying out of a train tunnel.
It's a metaphor.
Yeah, flying out? It's a metaphor for birth.
That's right.
The tagline for could be, in Superman 1, you believed a man could fly. Now, in Superman 4, you will begin to seriously question this judgment. Or you will believe a man can fly in one direction only.
You believe a man can collect a whole lot of stock footage that he's very proud of. So it turns out the approaching car was Mr. Hornsby, who may have a buyer for the Kent farm. He's going to have to admit to the buyer that 2 old people were murdered on the property recently. But
Superman hid the bodies, didn't he?
That's
he
true.
had a few minutes to do it. They could be anywhere. Clark knew what that meant. Anybody who didn't care what the farm looked like was just going to tear it down, probably for a development like a shopping centre. I'm sorry, Mr. Hornsby, I can't agree to that. Whoever buys this farm has to want to keep it a working farm.
Yeah, damn stupid shopping centres. We make our money growing fresh produce to sell at shopping centres.
Yeah.
Wait.
You might want to do a little bit of looking into how modern supermarket chains exploit farmers with restrictive contracts and unconscionable trading practices. All those so we can have cheap prices. Superman knows his shit, Luke. Hashtag feel the bird.
Well, feel the barn. I just think...
They're not Amish.
I just think that, he might, if he wants to sell the products of his labours, he might just want to readjust his attitude just a little bit.
Well, he's not actually farming. It's just this idle farmland.
Oh, but he wants it to be a working farm.
Superman doesn't have the time. What, he's going to have 3 careers? Superman, Clark Kent, and Farmer?
Yeah, well, I've got some issues with that, but we're going to get to that. It looks like he's having the world's shittiest garage sale. He's got a baseball bat. His old crib is there, which is cracked.
Yeah, and you should consider buying it, Luke, because it's kind of cramped in this one for the both of us.
All right, I'll make a quote, a deal, an offer. What a joker your old dad was, he chuckled to himself. I asked George one day what happened to this thing. Oh, Clark must have kicked it, he said to himself. Holy secret origins, comic fans. This reveals for the first time that Clark's dad was the Joker.
And someone must have told Batman, so no wonder he's pissed.
That is the motivation. That's why they're going to come to blows.
We've discovered the secret.
So Clark has to go to work in Metropolis, and he's late because he missed the subway train and he can't fly as Clark. And I want to know, because this is bothering me, why does Superman have to work? I mean, he could go around saving people for that 8 hours a day, but instead, that's 8 hours a day where he doesn't save people.
I have completely and utterly never understood this myself. Like, most people seem caught up in why people don't notice that Superman is Clark Kent, without considering the fact that why does he need to be Clark Kent at all? Like you said, while he's pissing about with maintaining this secret identity, people are legitimately dying all over the place during that 8 hour period.
And you go, oh, well, he doesn't need rent because he's got a fortress of solitude and he can fly there in about 2 seconds because he can fly around the world 10 times in a second.
Squeeze fucking coal into diamonds, so he doesn't need money.
Well, he wouldn't need money anyway because he could save a woman and then he'd be like, is that a pie you're cooking? And she'd be like, yeah. And he goes, it sure smells good. And she would would you like some pie, Superman? And he'd go, yes, please,
so
ma'am.
He saves people in the barter system.
I have a super appetite. Yeah.
While he's catching someone who's fallen off a bridge or a building, he's asking them, what have you got to give to me?
And they go, Superman, why don't you stay for tea? There's a construction worker
Superman, I'm homeless.
Hanging off a girder. And he's like, what's in that lunchbox? What you got today?
That sounds like he's shaking them down. So there's a woman baking a pie in the kitchen, and he smells it with his super smell. Yeah. And he burns the rest of her fucking house down and saves her so that he can eat the pie.
Well, it's better than stealing it off a windowsill while it's cooling. So, I think it's all a bit strange anyway.
Yeah, well, if you didn't have a job, then people might use it to advance their bullshit theories that all immigrants are welfare bludgers.
True. So you have done some research here, I take
did.
it.
You piqued my interest, so I looked it up on Superman Wikia, which says the following. Clark Kent's primary purpose was to fulfill the perceived dramatic requirement that a costumed superhero cannot stay on duty 24 hours a day, or throughout the entirety of a comic book series, because then it would just be Clark Kent journalist, not Superman.
Yeah, but that's behind the curtain bullshit. I'm talking about his life as a real man.
As such, Kent acted as little more than a front for Superman's activities. Everything about Kent was staged for the benefit of his alternate identity. He acquired a job as a reporter for the Daily Planet for the convenience of receiving late-breaking news before the general public, back when, newspapers...
He's got super hearing.
Yeah, true. Providing an excuse for being present at crime scenes... And having an excuse?
His excuse is that he's helping these people.
And having an occupation where his whereabouts do not have to be strictly accounted for as long as he makes his story deadline.
If you're Super Jesus, you don't have to account for your whereabouts.
He sounds more and more like a serial killer, being present at crime scenes, needing to have alibis for where he is at all times of the day. He sees his job as a journalist as an extension of his Superman responsibilities, bringing truth to the forefront and fighting for the little man.
It's got to be psychological. He must get some sort of perverse kick out of being the weedy little clumsy man and having Lois roll her eyes. He strikes me as the kind of guy that would want her to step on his balls in high heels or something. because she's
Mate,
always
that's true.
Yeah.
This entire Clark Kent persona exists for his peculiar S&M fantasies.
Because it's basically people going, "You're such a little pussy, Clark," and him going, "I know."
I hope he wears a nappy.
I think he does. Well, people probably think he does because he's got a whole cape stuffed in the back of his pants. Like, that's got to raise suspicion, right?
That's true. Like, he wears his suit under his clothes. Where is he wearing his cape?
That's why there are no black people in the Daily Planet. Because
Why?
every time he walked by with that booty, they'd go, "Damn."
So, but they cast Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White.
Oh, well, that's a whole different era. I'm talking about the ignorant 80s, not the enlightened 2000s.
Ignorant 80s when it was alright to make jokes like that.
Yes, it's not now, if anyone was curious.
Yeah, I'm with you though. I don't know why he doesn't just piss off to his Fortress of Solitude and, not spend most of his days cosplaying as a mild-mannered reporter.
Because he's a perv.
Well, I think we nailed it.
So he saves an engineer who's having a heart attack while dressed as Superman. And looking at the crotch shot photo that accompanies this, he's got his one leg up. And just that, like, a little hint of
That is a weird photo.
of a curve. I'm surprised he didn't give him another heart attack in there.
How does it compare to the Brandon Ruth crotch shot?
I think Christopher Reeve is far more explicit with it.
Well, it is an
And
open crotch
I
shot.
didn't even notice this. What's this thing hanging
Looks
out?
like a tampon string.
Hanging out the side.
Maybe that's where he keeps his cape.
Yeah. He's got something sticking out the side of his underwear there.
That's the applicator.
Yeah. So then we cut to a group of prisoners in a quarry, and among them is, can you believe it? He was whistling. Could it be Mozart? It was none other than Lex Luthor, brilliant arch criminal. Lex Luthor had used his genius for crime and the destruction of Superman. Now he was using it to move slime in a quarry.
Yeah.
Oh, the old slime quarry.
Hell. What are they quarrying?
Slime. The people of Metropolis need the slime
Stats.
for Burger King.
And Mozart, the world famous whistler. Little known fact, that's him at the beginning of Scorpion's greatest hit, Winds of
I
Change.
did not know that.
And Hackman doesn't even bother shaving his head for this particular go-around as Lex Luthor. And they don't even pretend that he has a collection of wigs like they have in the past. He just, that he wears just one of all the time around. Luthor just has hair in this movie, so, deal with it.
Oh, and Ducky is here. John Cryer.
Yeah, as the comic relief. You will believe comedy can die.
Just then, a car pulled up near the chain gang. It was a big white Cadillac convertible. The top was down and music blared from the sound system. It could be heard. I've been drinking, well, just Coke. Not any
Don't you believe him?
booze.
Don't you believe in
Burping. You don't draw attention to the burps. You never hear them. It could be heard 3 counties away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not my
Three
burp.
counties away.
A young man dressed in snakeskin stretch pants and a leopard print jacket. I thought he was Craven the Hunter for a little while there. With a set of earphones around his neck, stepped out. So, this
Maybe
is
our first major movie crossover.
this is
in the 80s.
Lex's nephew, Lenny, who helps him escape.
God, he's the most annoying character.
And now they just have to destroy Superman for some reason.
Yeah, and Lenny's like, "You're gonna skip the country, Uncle Lex?" Do it. Lenny, you pathetic product of the public school system, your Uncle Lex has had nothing on his mind the past few years except for one thing. Destroy Superman! Yeah, so basically it's Lex's prison revenge fantasy. He's just got that and he's whistling.
So he's a perv too.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, and we always talk
But they're a
about...
match made in heaven then, aren't
Yeah.
they? Because Supes is obviously the bottom and Lex is the top, so why don't they just get together?
Clark's
Except for involving the entire world in their bizarre sex fantasies.
Clark's the bottom and Superman's the top. He's like a dog chasing his own tail. So, we always talk about whenever in an American book they mention hamburgers, hot dogs, or pizzas, and a marshal here does say hot dog, which I think counts because he's clearly thinking about one.
Well, they're out in the sun all day moving slime. Your dogs are going to get hot.
We need the slime to garnish these dogs.
Gross.
And at the Daily Planet, the owner, Mr. Warfield, turns up, which is quite a loaded name in the quest for peace. And he's here with his beautiful daughter, Lacey.
Yep, I've traded Lois in for a younger, more hirsutely eyebrowed model in Mario Hemingway. She was before her time, eyebrow-wise. They're
Do you think
quite the trend now.
Yeah, I think Brooke Shields had that market beforehand. Warfield was speaking. It was just what Clark was afraid of. He was afraid of women speaking. And as of today, this paper is going to start making money with the help of my daughter, Lacey Warfield, he said, introducing the beautiful woman next to him.
And these are her eyebrows, Caterpillar and Sasquatch.
One of her eyebrows said, "Hello.
Hello, Governor.
Come on in and meet the missus." So Lois leaned over to Clark. She made her money the old-fashioned way, she said. She inherited it. Oh, see, I thought she meant the world's oldest profession.
Yeah, she inherited it from a bunch of guys' wallets at the conclusion of the intercourse.
Yes, which is fine.
So yeah, Warfield also says, the Daily Planet hasn't made any money in 3 years. And Lacey says, and the name of the game is making money, which is yet another of the many ham-fisted themes in this movie. Tabloid journalism versus true journalism.
Yeah, they're going to turn the Daily Planet into a sleazy gossip rag with bikini girl pictures. So Lois better hit the gym straight away. And I think this is good news for Jimmy Olsen with his little camera.
Does he look particularly good in a bikini?
I think he does. You know who plays Jimmy Olsen? We talked about this before, surely?
Don't think so.
It's Marty McFly's older brother, Dave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
Small world.
Small world, indeed.
Holly world. Oh yeah, so also Lacey immediately falls in love with Clark Kent because, you know, who wouldn't? And Lacey and Lois start gabbing like little schoolgirls about Lacey's chances with him.
And how she'd like to stand on his ball bag with stilettos on. And then on TV, the President of the United States gives a speech about how things really are not going well with the arms talks. And America is going to have to be sure to win the arms race.
Yes, the summit is kaput, according to one of the tabloid headlines that they flash around.
Not appearing in this book.
Oh, sorry, man.
And a group of the shittiest school kids are watching, and they're very concerned about this news.
Yeah, that's right. We cut to some irrelevant school class in Buttfuck Who Gives a Shitsville. And the teacher says, now, I know you're all upset by the crisis. The best thing we can do is to try to think positively. Now, is there anything we can do? Doesn't anyone have a suggestion? All right, I'll make a suggestion. What subject is she teaching? Suggestions 101?
Coercion 101. It looks like the general consensus is that sending a letter to Congress is a bullshit move. It's not going to do any good. Except for one special kid. He's got other ideas.
Enter one of the more popular characters in the DC canon.
But the idea of the letter made one of the boys, Jeremy, think a little more. Jeremy was a thinker. He was also a dreamer. He liked to think about his world the way it should be.
Shooting capitals.
Miss Thomas and his friends sometimes thought he spent too much time looking out the window dreaming, but daydreaming was Jeremy's way. Jeremy sometimes dreamed about a world where nobody had bombs. It was the kind of world where nobody made fun of anybody just because they were different. Now, I'm going to follow this up by making fun of Jeremy because he's different. Because Jeremy is a really shitty actor in the film. Like, this book makes it sound like he's a philosopher. But he sounds like the meanest kid.
Yeah, he's really angry with everybody.
He just stands up
in
and
the
goes,
class.
I'll tell you who I'd write a letter to who would do some good. Superman. And I'm like,
I'll tell you who I'd write a letter to who could do some good.
he's so angry. And I'm just like, you're not a thinker or a dreamer. You're a little stinker. That's what he is.
He's definitely a little stinker.
He's definitely a little stinker.
This song was obviously the inspiration for that Pearl Jam song, Jeremy. Little known fact, Jeremy would grow up to be the Green River Killer.
Oh, that's fascinating. Well, he has a lot of anger in him. And the film wisely cuts Jeremy's bullshit here, but the book continues along with the material from the deleted scene. This scene, actually, they shot more and very smartly cut
Where
it.
the fuck is Jeremy? Who gives a shit? All the kids in the world, Superman listens to Jeremy.
If you're such a good friend of his, why don't you call him up, one boy said. Pretty soon, everybody was laughing at Jeremy. It is a case of, like, it's quite cruel. I can understand why Jeremy's angry at everyone, because they're basically like, if you love Superman so much, why don't you marry him? Why don't you put your little pee-pee in his bum-bum?
Jeremy's like, I would marry Superman, shrieked Jeremy, and he fled the classroom in tears.
Yeah.
I mean, his classmates, obviously don't like him, but to be fair, I can see that point.
He's a stinker. So, as you said, Lacey Warfield, she's hot for Clark, and it appears he's got no choice in the matter.
There is some pretty severe sexual harassment going on in that office.
Her orifice.
Yeah, I almost actually said orifice. I don't think she should get a free pass just because she's an attractive eyebrowed lady.
Well, that's my policy. Together, they would go to all the hot night spots, dinner, dancing, parties, discos hanging on there in the late 80s. But Lacey, he told her, I'm usually in bed by 10:30. It was no use. Her mind was made up, so he had to go. And great junior novelization compression here. Instead of showing that scene where Lex and Lenny steal the piece of Superman's hair from the museum, Clark just gets a report that summarizes it in a sentence. Amen, B.B. Hiller.
That's a report, what, like
Love
by
you.
a text message or?
No, like
Teletext?
he's in the bloody... Well, he's in the newsroom.
Oh, it just says...
It's news. Museum
Your hair was
robbery.
stolen.
Piece of
Okay.
hair stolen.
Oh, but that movie scene, man. Isn't it wonderful? They go to the museum to collect a single strand of Superman's strong as fuck hair, a hair capable of suspending 1,000 pounds. And what do they use to break this hair? Lasers? Kryptonite blades? No, standard bolt cutters.
And it's a big sort of spray painted silver sphere that says 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, when he cuts it, you think it's going to crash through the floor or something.
Written
But
on
it,
it.
like, bounces.
Yeah.
Or fucking floats away. And why do they want this particular hair? Well, Lex Luthor himself explains. You know what I can do with a single strand of Superman's hair?
To which Lenny replies,
You can make a toupee that flies.
now that I would like to see. Superman 4, you'll believe a toupee can fly.
Luthor also explains. I've been drinking from Luke's.
bizarro.
I had a swig of Luke's Coke just then. That hair is an
Coke Zero.
example of Superman's genetic material. With my genius and enough nuclear power to actually, he doesn't say nuclear. Gene Hackman always says nuclear power to mutate the genes. I can create a being who's more powerful than him. Which is just science, basically.
Simple science. So Clark reads Jeremy's letter.
Which has been sent to the Daily Planet, care of Lois Lane.
Also receives letters for Santa. Clark read out loud, I don't care if everybody thinks I'm a space cadet. Once you've destroyed
Clark
all the
had a
nuclear
mistakes.
missiles in the world, they'll see I was right. Superman can make sure we don't blow ourselves up quick and easy. Thanks a lot. I know you'll come through. Your friend Jeremy. Quick and easy like. Clark
I
was...
like how Clark added all these sarcastic stresses to this letter.
Clark was pale. We could tell he was a little stinker from the handwriting. Clark was pale, but
And the
neither Lois nor Lacey seemed to notice. Clark doesn't need this kind of heat. Getting letters from little kids,
Critiques.
acting like
Critiques
they're
of his performance.
acting like they're familiar.
Well, now like probably a negative Yelp review for Superman.
Yeah, but your friend Jeremy, he's like, I don't want him to think that I'm like hanging out with young kids in the Fortress of Solitude with no supervision, no chaperone.
Well, especially not little stinkers like
I
Jeremy.
don't even have a butler.
Yeah, this letter gives Superman a severe case of staring forlornly out of windows. Can he risk disappointing a child who is themselves a disappointment to all who know him? Particularly this film's director, who's actually overdubbed him with the shittiest voice imaginable, which makes me wonder what horrors the overdub is actually concealing.
Once again, Jeremy was daydreaming. He gazed out the window, watching the clouds change shapes. He could see all kind of pictures in them. He could see lambs playing in a field. He could see cotton candy. He could see Superman. Jeremy was so surprised that he jumped out of his chair. So forget Batman v Superman. Jeremy v Superman is the meet-up that I've been waiting for many years.
Do you bleed, Superman? Jeremy asked.
You will. So, Superman just fucking... This is another deleted scene. Superman just fucking walks into Jeremy's classroom, and if the kids were razzing him before, now they're going to think Jeremy and Superman are engaged.
Yeah, Superman gets down on one knee in front of Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't come in with a bouquet of roses or something under one arm.
What is the age of consent on Krypton?
But the age of consent in Krypton is a Jeremy. So, Superman tells the class that he promised not to ever interfere with the governments of Earth, and
He
thanks
did not
them
make the same promise about Jeremy.
for understanding. Well, I don't understand, Jeremy said angrily. I'm sorry, Superman told him and left. Jeremy's words of angry disappointment rang in Superman's ears all the way back to Metropolis. This boy, this dreamer, had a knack of showing Superman the things that were really important.
If you love Jeremy so much, why don't you fucking marry him? The children cried out after him.
Maybe I will. I'm up and away. So, Clark revealing himself as Superman to Lois and flying around, showing her his stock footage collection, is not in the book because it really does not matter to the story.
Except in as much as it continues the theme of Superman being a straight-up dick to women. So, like, to make himself feel better, because he's in a little bit of a Jeremy-inspired funk, he decides to reveal his secret identity to Lois through a faux murder fucking suicide, which basically involves him throwing both of them off the building, leaving her to think she's about to die before then catching her as the bespectacled Superman. Jesus, I can't fucking talk today. Then they fly around for a bit, which mainly involves him playing chicken with her in the air. Basically throwing her and pushing her out in front of him and smiling as she's like flailing around in fear. Although then in the deleted scenes she like flies somehow. Like apparently that's possible as well. And then to top it all off, he super roofies her again. He kisses away all her memories with his rohypnol saliva, like a goddamn emotionally abusive psychopath.
Like Bill Cosby.
Yeah. Super cos.
So, meanwhile, Luthor is doing some really dumb shit.
Lenny handed his uncle a covered dish with some goo on it. What we have here is protoplasm made from Superman's genes. We will bombard it with radioactive cosmic rays and duplicate creation itself in a matter of seconds.
So it's basically some super jism.
Yeah, you learn a thing or two in those slime quarries.
I know this is all cut, by the way. This isn't in the film. So he uses but the scenes exist. Nuclear chamber in order to create... The humanoid broke out of the nuclear chamber and stormed right through the walls of the lab into Lex's apartment. It was a gigantic monster with fearful muscles. It glanced quickly at Lenny, then turned to Lex. It spoke its first word. Fuckface? No, it was father. Look, that's not a very good description of what this thing actually is. How would you describe this?
Well, it's basically Lord Great John Umber from Game of Thrones, and he's naked with a metal plate on his dick, and I guess it's being played for laughs because in the deleted scenes there's this weird, like, keyboard grinder noise and then fart sound effects every time.
Yeah, it's a lot of cartoony sound effects.
And I imagine like it's supposed to be some version of Bizarro, but he's a baby talk rather than backwards talking.
He reminds me of, and this will only make sense to the Australian listeners, but he reminds me of Frankie J. Holden.
Yeah, he does a bit. He does have that teased hair.
Yeah.
It's quite frosted.
And Lex fires a fucking machine gun at his new son, just to test, to see how tough he is. And he is Nuclear Man is his name, and the rest of the stupid shit that he does in this scene is deftly swept under the rug by the book.
Yeah, basically. But that's the thing, like, so there's this entire 15 to 20 minute sequence where Lex Luthor creates the first not so successful Nuclear Man, and it just disappears from the movie. So you don't Lex just his fucking retarded scheme of creating another Superman with some jism and hair, it just works perfectly the first time around.
Yeah, this is another deleted scene. Clark and Lacey dance at the Metro Club, and there's this weird aside where Clark zooms to the back of the line as Superman and carries some honeymooners into the club. Like, is he going to accompany them to bed later too?
Yeah, probably.
And then...
That's a weird one, because I read about that one, but that's not actually on the deleted scenes, it's on the DVD. Like, the whole Metro Club scene isn't there. So when you see the deleted scene of the first Nuclear Man, the Bizarro Nuclear Man, and he's coming out of this club with this hottie, which we're about to see.
We're about to have this.
Makes absolutely no sense.
While they were talking about their hometowns, neither one saw the new arrival in the Metro Club, Nuclear Man, and he's even more confused than I am right now.
But when he saw Lacey Warfield, everything on Earth became much more confusing. He fell in love with Lacey at first sight! Nuclear Man was so surprised by this sudden feeling that when a woman bumped into him and said, "Hey cutie, let's boogie," he agreed. But she didn't really want to dance.
And I've got a new ringtone.
She wanted to be alone with him. She led Nuclear Man out into the alley behind the Metro Club.
So yeah, what is happening here?
This is the junior version.
I know.
What is going on?
As soon as the woman got Nuclear Man into the alley, she realised she'd bitten off more than she could chew. One look at his gigantic, misshapen Hulk, and she was terrified. She screamed, "They've got to be talking about his cock."
Is it green?
It has to
They're
be.
describing it as a Hulk.
It was very veiny. So,
It was
Superman
very, very angry.
answers the scream, and he and Nuclear Man have a pretty quick fight, which ends with Nuclear Man being hit with an electric transformer. And as you said, in the movie, it's all like comic book sound effects and crazily bad special effects. Yeah.
It's just weird. Within seconds, Nuclear Man was almost completely destroyed by millions of volts of electricity. Satisfied at his victory, Superman left the Transformer. He never saw Lenny sweeping up the remains of his uncle's creation and putting them into a jar. So Superman just basically straight up kills a dude and then goes back to fuck these honeymooners.
My favourite bit, it's not in the book, is that deleted scene where Gene Hackman is holding the little dustbuster
Stroking it.
filled with the remains of Nuclear Man, and he starts doing Nuclear Man's voice and puppeting the thing. So crazy.
No matter how bad this film is, it still has Gene Hackman in it.
Yes, slumming it.
It could have always been worse.
So this is all in a different order to the film. Jeremy's only now at a press
Jeremy.
conference wishing Superman had said yes, and the papers report that Superman told this kid to drop dead.
Yeah, this is the tabloids again. The old Daily Planet would never have been so sensationalists. But it's funny that they report on him metaphorically telling this kid to drop dead when he basically just murdered a giant baby and no one gives a fucking shit.
Superman says, "Fuck off, stinker." So Superman goes to the Fortress of Solitude to think long and hard about this shit.
Superman thought about the wisdom of Krypton. Then the thought about the wisdom that a young boy... I can't even read that with a straight face. Then the thought about the wisdom that a young boy named Jeremy had showed him. He made up his mind. "You have taught me well, but sometimes there is more to learn from children than the wisest of men. Farewell." He was ready to return to Metropolis.
I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. I mean, show them all the beauty that they possess inside.
That's very lyrical.
Give them a sense of pride.
If I knew any of the lyrics, I would also repeat them to you. Yeah, so Soups is this in the book? Is he consulting the elders of Krypton?
I think maybe,
Or is he talking to
yeah.
Jor-El again?
No, I don't know.
Because in the movie, it's these
I think it was
elders
the-
of Krypton, so
yeah.
apparently he can now talk with other people other than Jor-El, his mum and this bunch of old white dudes. And Superman says to them, "I know I'm forbidden to interfere," but, like, does he? I mean, he's done some pretty hardcore fucking super interfering for 3 movies now, including turning back time a couple of times.
That's definitely interfering with pretty much everybody.
Yeah, you'd think so. And yeah, so the first Elder of Kryptons are like, "The Earth is too primitive. You can flee to new worlds where war is long forgotten."
Like Endor, after it found peace.
Yeah, and then the second Elder of Krypton, who sounds exactly and looks exactly like the first Elder of Krypton. "If you teach the Earth to put its faith in any one man, even yourself, you're teaching them to be betrayed. Betrayed, 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 betrayed."
So
I think he likes that word, you guys.
he's saying that teach them to be what?
To be betrayed.
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 Okay,
It's
yes.
like he's trying to get a
Yeah.
chant going, but no one else wants to join in.
Come on, you guys!
You're leaving me hanging here. Come on.
Hop aboard the betrayed train.
The betrayin.
The betrayed.
That's these elders like the same council of people who refuse to listen to Jor-El about, you know, the imminent destruction of Krypton. Because why then would Superman be even trusting their judgment now, which he doesn't do clearly, because he trusts more in the wisdom of Jeremy.
We're slow learners, Carl.
But does it logically follow that putting your faith in someone leads to betrayal? That's like a very pessimistic view. I mean, you can put your faith in someone and they might not meet your heightened expectations of that faith. Say, President Obama as a good example. A lot of Democratic voters felt let down when he didn't deliver the hope and change that he promised. But betrayal? That's a massive leap. It sounds like the second Elder of Krypton has a few trust issues. I think he and first Elder of Krypton might have some messy personal history that I'm quite excited to hear about.
Well, they all got killed, and I think they had what's coming. So, oh, America. Guess what Jeremy is doing now? Jeremy was about to bite into a big hot dog when, whoosh, Superman landed next to him. Without fail, every American book, hot dog, hamburger, pizza.
Say, Jeremy, do you like gladiator movies?
Yeah, it was a wide one. He was probably like, "Hey, you stupid Frank, get in my gullet." "You think you're so tough? I'm gonna swallow you whole. Hey, mustard. You're not gonna get up my nose. I'm Jeremy." So Superman goes to the United Nations,
what's going on.
and he tells them he's going to rid the world of all nuclear weapons. And surprisingly, they are all thrilled at this, despite the money they've clearly wasted making them.
Superman's all like, "For many years now, I've lived among you as a visitor. As of today, I am not a visitor anymore. I can't stand idly by and watch as you stumble into the madness of possible nuclear destruction. And so I've come to a decision. Effective immediately, I'm going to rid our planet of all nuclear weapons." And then the UN audience stand up and give him a bloody standing ovation. And I'm sure, like, the USA, the USSR, Israel, North Korea, they were all absolutely loving this announcement. Because, remember, like, this is the Cold War, where mutually assured destruction was all that was keeping the world from entering a hot war. So we're taking away these nukes, and we're taking away that mutually assured destruction, so what happens then?
Clark's getting a little, happy feet. They've got those happy feet. Give them a lowdown beat.
Yeah, I think you don't spot the parallels.
I think it's quite apt, actually.
He then went on to tell the UN about the rainbow connection.
Lois is a bit of a piggy type as well. So, Superman, look, this is the same guy that put a power source in his pocket, carries around all the bombs in a net.
A fucking net.
Superman closed the net tightly, and he worked on a fishing boat that time, and took the entire load of bombs, hundreds of them, and flew directly towards the sun. So he throws the bombs into the sun. I feel that this is an act of aggression.
No, the sun's all like, "I give you your powers, and this is how you repay me."
And Lex has a new plan with 3 warmongers.
And one of whom is Jim Broadbent.
He's going to put the remains of Nuclear Man on a bomb, like on the tip of a bomb, and when Superman throws it into the sun...
The warhead, not the tip of a bomb.
It's the tip of the bomb.
He's not smearing it on there.
Yeah, I thought he was.
It's a petri dish.
I thought he was. I thought he was just putting a bit of glob on the end, lubing it up into the sun, and then Nuclear Man will be reborn again. And Superman falls for it straight away, like a big old dummy. Does exactly what Lex wants.
This is like the best line in the film. I don't know if it's in the book, probably isn't. But Gene Hackman had to actually say this out loud. So he's putting the supergism into a warhead with some swatches of material for like super clothes. And as he explains it, the computer inside will weave enough material to maintain the high moral standards I've always subscribed to.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's in the book.
High moral standards? So basically, you want a new wardrobe, you just jizz on your old pants and fire it into the sun.
Worth a shot. Behind Superman's back, the flames from the explosion on the sun licked millions of kilometers into space. One of the flames jumped away from the others and began sailing toward Earth. As it came, it began to change shape. It seemed to grow arms and legs and a head and a body. What a body. Even the creature paused to admire his own beautiful shape as he flew towards
Female gaze.
Earth. Not enough emphasis on his fabulous fingernails, though, because in the film, he just keeps flicking them out.
It's like a 5-minute sequence. He's just going, whoa.
They're so manicured. They're amazing.
Yeah, and so the sun gave birth to him out of her sun vagina. It must have scratched her up something fierce.
Yes, the sun had a scratchy vagina that day, for sure. So, stellar dialogue as Nuclear Man returns to his father.
Yeah, did they explain in the book why Lex is dancing with Marie Antoinette in this?
I think it's one of the many things they skipped over in the book.
Well, he bids her adieu and then she's gone and never ever mentioned.
Lex...
There's a succession of ladies in this film that Lex seems to be hanging out with, and then they appear and they never disappear again, and I'm quite worried for these ladies.
It's just part of his contract.
I feel maybe Lenny's a serial killer, and he's burying them in the basement.
In the quarry, in the slime quarry.
In the slime quarry.
Lex took a metal ruler and prodded Nuclear Man with it. Nuclear Man didn't like that. He hissed and grew red with anger. The metal ruler melted.
"Oh my," Lex said. "The nuclear power has made him a furnace. I like it. I am so smart. I am..." He searched for the word.
Nuclear Man supplied it.
"Nothing. You are nothing,"
he told Lex.
"I am father now."
This wasn't quite what Lex had in mind.
You're just an experiment. A freak out.
when he said to Nuclear Man, an experiment and a freako. They are fighting words.
A Nuclear Man has Gene Hackman's voice for some reason.
I'm guessing the reason is that guy can't act.
You have my voice. No, you have my voice. Is actually a line from the film. Jesus. So I guess he mixed a little of his own jizz into the mix.
Yeah.
It was a pretty exciting plan after all.
He wanted to be a true father.
I don't think Superman has Lex Luthor's voice.
So, Nuclear Man is set on destroying Superman, but because he gets his power from the sun, he freezes in darkness, apparently.
He also freezes in pronounced shade. Like, he steps out of the direct sunlight of the window into this slightly shadier bit of the room, and he just stops. He's like an outdoor plant that needs direct sunlight, and if he's not getting rays, and he winds down like an iPhone battery. And Lex is like, he gets his energy from the sun. Without it, he's like you at night, useless.
Sick burn, Lex.
Yeah, more comedy gold.
Oh shit, so Lois and Lacey are interviewing Superman at dinner, but they want Clark to be there too, so he has to Mrs. Doubtfire the entire evening by switching between the two. Oh, your duck is burning, Lois, better go to the kitchen. Oh, now I'm Clark. Back and forth.
Excuse me.
And it might seem like I'm rushing through now, but everything is so quickly explained in the book. Like, Lex lures Superman to fight Nuclear Man, and Superman susses everything out in about a second.
The movie's barreling along too, like that 40 minutes that they trimmed out of that movie, it's kind of obvious. It's just missing all these little joining sequences. Shit's happening and there's no explanation for anything.
Look closely at his cells, Lex said. See anything familiar? Then Superman understood. You've broken all the laws of man, Luthor, and now you've broken the laws of nature. I assume you must have hidden a device in one of the missiles I destroyed in the sun. That is the logical conclusion in this situation. But first, Nuclear Man, just like a girl, wants to have fun.
Superman took off after Nuclear Man. He had the feeling that Nuclear Man's idea of fun could mean disaster for the world. In a few seconds, he learned he was right.
Yep, Nuclear Man is being a total shithead, alright.
Nuclear Man's next stop was the Great Wall of China. It had taken millions of workers hundreds of years to build. Nuclear Man was destroying it in a matter of seconds.
What a prick.
So this whole sequence is basically OCD Superman flying the world after Nuclear Man and cleaning up after him. And demonstrating in the process yet another new superpower that he doesn't have in the comics. He has a new I-beam power of telekinesis, which he puts the wall back together without lifting a finger, with these little blue I-beams from his eyes. Pew, 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 pew. 'Cause apparently they didn't have the budget for the super speed repair job which they had planned.
And by the end of all this, Superman's cape ends up draped on the Statue of Liberty, and he has disappeared, prompting the Daily Planet to speculate on his death.
Yeah, so leading up to this bit, Nuclear Man has tossed the great green lady of liberty, and then while Supes is carrying her back to her pedestal, Nuclear Man sneaks up and uses those fabulous nails to totally scratch him on the neck. Don't be afraid to use your nails, girls. But, like, this is a super fight to the death for sissies. And those ganked up nails like totally fuck up Superman's shit, and he runs away like a little Jeremy.
He should be standing proud like a Ron Jeremy, but no. Runs away with his little neck wound. And Lex...
And he's got a little cough now too.
uses this to start selling nuclear bombs to just like fucking everybody he can think of.
Yeah, but luckily for everybody, Lois has Superman detecting powers, apparently. She tracks Clark down because she can feel something's wrong with Superman, and she gives him just the right pep talk that he needs.
He's definitely looking like shit. Clark stumbled into his bathroom, looked at the face he saw in the mirror. In all his years on Earth, he had never known pain and weakness such as he felt now. He had never been afraid he might die. He was afraid of all these things now. Then, while he watched, he suddenly saw himself getting older.
Women's voices still.
His skin wrinkled. His hair turned grey. So, you remember that power source from the baby capsule, though? This is apparently the right time to use it, so he uses it, and he's powerful again.
Yeah, he totally uses that green thing he put in his pocket. After waiting till he's almost dead and Lex has been selling tons of bombs, he uses this thing that he's never been told how to use in a way he was never told it was possible to use, and it totally heals him. How did he know? Why does he wait so long to use it? Who basically gives a shit?
And even though this book is the size of a greeting card, I'd forgotten it even existed by this stage.
I think they must have obviously run out of the money for that sequence above as well, where he was looking in the mirror, because it goes from him talking with Lois to him suddenly being this weird old man.
Old age makeup. I thought he was turning into the Shaggy DA for a little while there, but apparently not. let's end this bullshit. Let's race through now. Nuclear Man was hot for Lacey, if you remember. He abducts her, and I really do respect how brief all this is in the book. Nuclear Man scooped her up into his arms, and before she knew it, she was in Lex's apartment, totally surprised and totally captive.
But this is strange as well, because like the first Nuclear Man was hot for Lacey, so the Ashes remembered Lacey?
According to this book, yeah, he remembers his old memories. Totally captive. That's my favourite Mary Kate and Ashley young detective book.
What?
Yeah, they're in a basement. They're tied together by bad man.
Yeah, I wonder why this is your favourite Mary Kate and Ashley story.
And then, I'll be back for you, he said to Lacey. Then his body began to change shape. It became the unmistakable shape of a bomb, a nuclear bomb. Nuclear Man shot into the air.
Why was this not in the movie? It's like fucking Plastic Man.
That's true.
I think, again, they originally had planned for Nuclear Man to be able to change his shape. And, again, money became a concern. So they gave him nails instead.
Alright, so look, this is all nonsense. Superman saves Lacey, but then he greatly endangers her by using her as bait for Nuclear Man, and then he traps Nuclear Man in a dark elevator and flies him to none other place than the moon.
Superman was completely unaware that Nuclear Man was regaining his power. He was ready to head home. He paused for a minute to straighten out the flag which America's last lunar astronauts had planted there. Then he saluted the flag.
I don't understand saluting a flag.
It's like OCD Superman striking again, straightening out the flag. Nuclear Man's revived because this crack in the elevator door has let in enough sunlight for him to be revived, which is on the dark side of the moon. But while Superman was flying him up to space, in broad daylight for some of that way, he wasn't revived then. Makes sense.
Yeah. And Nuclear Man attacks, things start to look pretty grim for Superman.
Yeah, in the film they have that ridiculous slow motion fight because, they're on the phone. And Nuclear Man's displaying his jazz hands, sparkle fingers, and he's lost the power of Gene Hackman's voice, so he's just ring it up. But he famously hammers Supes like a tent peg into the surface of the moon and flies away. And Superman gets out and he gets all OCD about that fucking flag again because obviously a flag is more important than a woman, therefore flying off to save the day.
I like the new Superman that's all about Earth, not just like a fucking American lackey.
International Man.
International Man. And then he does another really stupid, dangerous thing. Suddenly, Superman knew the answer. Quickly, he figured it out. He leaped into the moon sky, and then with every ounce of his super strength, he began to move the moon. He moved it until it was exactly between the sun and Earth, blocking all sunlight from Earth. Since Nuclear Man needed sunlight for energy, the only thing Superman could do was block the sun, and scratched up another vagina in the process.
Nuclear war is bad, but apparently tsunamis are fine. Seriously, how bad must the gravitational forces have exerted? Tidal friggin' chaos back on Earth.
Goes back. Everybody's dead. Lying in puddles. And
Bangladesh no longer exists underwater.
Within a couple of sentences, Superman locks the depowered Nuclear Man in a power plant cooling tower.
Straight up murder. But,
Yeah.
Wasn't this how Nuclear Man was born? Of nuclear energy? So now it's killing him instead of empowering him? And double also, it's showing that, this death flare that he produces when he's thrown into this reactor produces boundless energy. So on one hand, the film's saying nuclear weapons are bad, but nuclear power is awesome?
Make up your
Mixed
mind,
message.
film. And he puts Luther back in the chain gang. And as for our friend Lenny...
Superman's next stop was a special home for Lenny. He took Lenny to the priest in charge of the home. "This boy has been under a bad influence. Can you help him?" Superman asked. "Every boy could be helped, Superman," the priest told him.
Helped out of his pants, the priest winked.
"The boy can be helped," the priest said, "but I can't help myself." He licked his priestly lips.
Come here, you naughty boy. So the Daily Planet gets full control of their material again. Lacey buys the Kent farm. So everything seems wrapped up quite neatly. In fact, the movie just bails at this point. But the book doesn't. The book says what I was thinking. What about that little stinker, Jeremy? So...
In the deleted scenes, there's Superman flies him up into space without a spacesuit. Which also, Nuclear Man flies Lacey up into space without a spacesuit. That seems absent in the book. But who the fuck knows where he was actually taking her when he decided to fly her into space? The nearest rape planet, perhaps?
Rape Planet.
Yeah.
My favourite Ridley Scott film. So, here we go. Here is the ending. Jeremy and his classmates gaped at their visitor. That's pretty forward.
Jesus Christ.
They had just been
Work for
listening.
Jeremy.
They had just been listening to him on the radio. "I need your help, Jeremy," Superman said, taking the boy's hand. Before he could even answer, Superman lifted him high into the air and flew him above Earth. Jeremy could see everything in the world as it had never been seen by a human before, except for Lois a few pages earlier. It was more beautiful than he could have imagined.
Do you think he's going to kiss Jeremy after and make him forget?
Yes, well, I hope so. Awesome, Jeremy gasped. Awesome, Jeremy gasped. Superman held him firmly. "Jeremy, I need you to tell the people of the world what you see," he said. "I'll try," Jeremy told him. Looking down at Earth, he began to describe the sights. "Well, I see the oceans, currents, and the rain, and the mountains, and the rivers, but..." Jeremy stopped speaking for a moment. "Go on," Superman encouraged him. "But you can't tell where one country begins and another one ends. You can't see any borders. It's just one world." Superman sighed happily. It was just what he'd hoped Jeremy would see. "Good," he said. "If you can see it, and I can see it, maybe someday everyone else will see it." Fuck, that's a lot of pressure, Superman. A lot of pressure. Like, now I have to go fly
He
around.
doesn't even fly Jeremy back down.
No.
He just
Now
ends
I've
like
got
that.
to- he's let
So then
him-
he just lets Jeremy
lets him
fall.
drift. And goes, "That's the end of that adventure." Dusts off his hands. Yes, I've got to go up into space and like look at all this stuff just to keep Superman happy. No, thank you. I got better
Jeremy,
things to do.
I need you to let the world know how you die, Jeremy. This is a
Jeremy,
warning to the rest of them, Jeremy.
I'm throwing you into the sun because you stink. You are a little stinker, and I've had enough now. Look,
I
unfortunately,
want people to know what happens when they write letters to Superman, Jeremy. Say hi to the sun for me.
There are no Amazon reviews. No one was brave enough to review this book. Unfortunately, I think we may have been the first people in the universe to ever read it. But I will ask you what I always ask at this point in time. Was the book better?
Oh, let's go with a tie, huh?
You can't give it a tie. There's rules to this.
You've never actually given me the rules.
No, you're not allowed to. You've got to pick one because Tim the Stats Man keeps the stats and he will just
Now you're putting me under pressure like Jeremy.
He will just go nuts. Look, it's not like fucking buying a
write
car.
a letter to Superman to ask him
you
what he
can't be
thinks.
wrong. No one's gonna like weigh your choice against a feather in the
Seeing
afterlife.
as I have seen the film and haven't read the book, I'll go the book because the movie was shit.
I'm going to go the film, but with the
controversial.
with the proviso that you watch it with all the deleted scenes because that's full of laughers. And plus, I love Jeremy's performance. He's just brilliant. And it's someone who can help it, Superman. Yes. So that was it. That as easy as that.
You believe a boy
what
can
we
be
do.
bullied.
Yeah, you believe
He deserves it.
a boy can stink. Jeremy,
Stinker man.
you little stinker, I will be looking for
Superman
you
5. Stinker man.
in Batman vs Superman, which you and I are seeing the very day this comes out, Tuesday.
Dun 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 dun.
We're seeing it early. Very much looking forward to that.
Indeed.
So, yeah, thanks, dude. Thanks so much for going on this quest for peace. Are you at peace at the end of this?
Let's say yes.
I think you found a little piece of ass called Jeremy. Ow! Not really. So,
Yeah, not really.
yes, thank you everybody for listening.
That red flag just got raised again.
So,
They had forgotten about us.
and I'm saluting it, just when I said I would. So,
I'm straightening it with my OCD.
thank you everybody for listening. Please go to fruitlesspursuits.com for information on other shows such as FPcast, which is our pop culture cast. Jacinta and I talking about news and reviews. This week we're talking about Daredevil and 10 Cloverfield Lane among lots of trailers and things. You can also find links at fruitlesspursuits.com to our Facebook discussion page, our Facebook page, our iTunes link, so you can like us and review us, and our Patreon for the hardcore people who would like to give us a bit extra and receive a bit extra in the extra shows, Book Was Better TV shows, where we read books about TV adaptations. So that is my spiel. Is there anything that we've missed? Anything you would like to add before we depart?
Nah.
That's
probably
what
not.
they all say.
Well, I would like to... I'm aware of the pressing time. I would love to have talked some about what we were seeing on Tuesday.
I feel, yeah. I feel like we have different expectations.
Well, we do.
And we're just
That
going
has
to like
become evident.
butt heads on it, and I don't feel we need to because we're gonna watch this thing together, and then we're gonna definitively
No,
know.
I feel like my position has been distorted. I feel like people think I'm anti these films when I'm actually I have reserved excitement.
Yeah.
In that I want them to be brilliant because I am a massive Batman fan.
Yeah.
But from the evidence that has so far been presented, I cannot allow myself to get too excited because I might be disappointed.
The Batman scenes they've shown, though, like when he's in that warehouse and stuff, for me,
good.
that's no better or worse than like Nolan's Batman. That looks totally on par.
Yeah, that's not the Batman stuff I'm worried
But
about.
even the Batman Superman like fight stuff that I've seen when there was, I don't know if you watched that 40-second clip which was in sequence. You know, it finished and I was like, no, I want to watch more. It was great in sequence.
We all know Zack Snyder can direct an action scene.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the scenes that those action scenes hang upon that he sometimes struggle with.
And I think it's interesting that a lot of people are quoting that evidence of Man of Steel, but that's the whole point of this, is Batman has seen Man of Steel and gone, what the fuck was that? Did you see that ending? And I'm gonna go punch you in the face, pal.
I mean, a lot of people hated Man of Steel. I didn't hate Man of Steel. I was slightly disappointed. But there were sequences of Man of Steel that like left me with my jaw on the floor that just looked amazing.
Look, the third act's so problematic, but I don't think that's like a Zack Snyder thing. I think that was the time... It was the time of that film. It was the timing. It was because...
It was the vibe.
Well, it's because... Transformers 3 and Avengers had both made huge amounts of money and both end with 40 minutes of city destruction. And I think the studio was
wildly
like...
unoriginal.
Yeah, I do. I think the studio was like, that's what you got to do. Because they do. They make those weird provisos and stuff. And
obviously... I mean, yeah.
And obviously
we had
the
cinematic examples that were similar to that. But you also have the comic book examples of the time. Like every other crossover was some world-destroying event.
And, you know, they were
House
trying
of M,
to...
etc., etc.
That movie had a goal of flushing...
anyone still exists in the comic book universe.
Flushing Bryan Singer's Superman. And this one has a very different goal. This one's goal is to set up the Justice League.
Yeah,
and there's a lot more money and a lot more stuff riding on it.
Reserved. It is to do with the squeezing in of these other characters. If it was purely just the Batman and Superman movie, I don't think I would be so trepidatious as I am. But
I think lots of characters...
And I hope that I'm wrong.
Oh, no, I'm not like even
purely
debating it. I think that's all reasonable. But I do feel like these characters are such archetypes all the time, and we understand them so well that a lot of things now are guilty of spending too long explaining a simple thing. Like that's the problem I had with Daredevil. Like, how much do you need to... Does Aquaman need 2 hours of solo movie before I get what he's about? I don't think he does. And I don't even think, you know...
Frank Castle gave quite a few speeches in there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
I enjoyed them because I think John Bernthal is a great actor.
I've enjoyed the Marvel movies, which are packed with characters, because I get them. I go, yeah, I know who you are, great. Like, you look at the Vision. Comes in very late in Age of Ultron, but you understand everything you need to know about him straight away, and they give him this...
they even cut out that 5-minute fight sequence that he had with Thor.
And they give him that great character moment, which tells you everything you need to know. Like, that hammer bit just goes, yes, thank you, I've got it, let's keep moving.
This man likes hammers.
And I like that. I think the most interesting thing, the thing that excites me most about Batman vs. Superman is Ben Affleck, because his career has gone into a really interesting place. He's a talented writer, he's a talented director, and he has been polishing the script as they go. And the thing is, he doesn't need a film like Batman, Superman. So there's got to be something about it.
See, I don't have the reservation with him that a lot of people do.
That appealed to him. You know, there's got to be something about it which made him, especially like, he's so embarrassed about Daredevil. He'll openly talk about being embarrassed about that. And there's something about this that made him go, this is cool, and made him invest in it and want to direct more and...
Millions of dollars.
Yeah, well, there's a part of it. But, I mean, I think there's something in that material as well.
I mean, he's getting to direct the next one,
he's a pretty sharp dude.
Exciting for him.
But the fact that he wants to. Like I said, he doesn't need it, so there's got to be something in there which...
Batman's a superior character to Daredevil. You'd be more excited to be Batman than you would to be Daredevil, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but not if you saw half the Batman movies that have been made.
True.
Anyway, we're going to find out, and I'm very grateful that we're going to get that opportunity. That'll be really cool. And on this theme, because we did Superman this week,
and we're going to gloat.
We're going to do give equal time, and there'll be a Batman novelization next week with Courtney. So look forward to that. All right, thanks, dude. Do you want to say the thing?
Can't remember what it is.
It's I will
something about. Jumanji?
I'll catch... No, I say that bit. We can say... Do you want to say that bit? You can say that bit.
Catch you on the flip side?
Flips. Just fuck it.